Welcome back. So in this video we're going to get our pieces under control and be able to move them about the board. Just as we start this, make sure you've saved everything so that you've got your prefabs and our beginning of our scripts saved here. Now we're going to work with our TetraminoController. So open that up, and when you do, where's mine here? I've actually started it up a little bit. I've got a bit of code already. So what I'm going to ask you to do is just pause my video here, okay, and then enter the code. And we'll fill in. There's still that we've got to put in these are conditionals here. We've got to put in the statements that go with it. And once we get this done, we'll be able to have a bit of game movement of our pieces here. So just pause it and start it up when you're ready to go. All right. Hopefully you've been able to put these things in. And if you're new to C#, you'll notice that a lot of the stuff looks very much the same. Couple little things to be aware of. Up here, this whole script is in what's called a class, okay? And it's a mono behavior class. Don't worry too much about that. But the key thing is that there is a overall bracket, okay, that goes from the top to the very bottom. That's a bit different than JavaScript. The other thing is you don't see the word function in front of these. You see the word void. Basically, the thing is that it doesn't output anything, okay? So it's a void function. So it still is a function. You still have start and update. And then we've created our own here, this check user input. So there's not too many differences. There are a few, but to go from C# or from JavaScript to C#, you won't find too much difference. All right, but the first big thing is that in the update here, what we're doing is I'm putting in this check user input. And so what it's doing is just, instead of having the update function just full of all these different things, I'm separating the movement, the user input, into a separate function here. Just makes things a bit cleaner. And as your code gets more and more complicated and complex, it's often a very good idea to sort of isolate things and put them into their own functions that can get called. It makes the code look a lot cleaner. It also makes it a lot easier to find any coding problems. So we've got a series of if statements, and basically they're all doing the same thing. If you press the key down, depending on the key, so we've got right arrow, left arrow, up arrow, and down arrow, we're going to get different things to happen. All right, and the basic idea, so we're just using the arrow keys, is that if we press the right arrow, the piece is going to move to the right. Left arrow, piece is going to move to the left. The up arrow is going to be a little bit different. It's going to do the rotation. And the last thing is that down arrow, we're going to do two things with that, basically. One is, probably if you played Tetris before, you can sort of speed things up by pressing the down arrow, move the piece down. It will also sort of be the one that's going to control it so that it drops automatically, okay? But let's get the big things in first here. We just want to make sure that we can move these pieces. So what I'm going to do is inside the bracket here, we're going to access the transform and the position. And because each of these is just a unit in size, we've actually made it quite a bit easier for ourselves. Basically, the function is going to be, we're just going to take that position, okay, that it is, and we're going to add to it, so plus equals, basically a new vector3. Really, we could probably do a vector2 here, but we'll just do a vector3. And because we're moving it to the right, that's on the x-axis, so it's just going to be 1, 0, 0. Close that in bracket and end it with a semicolon. So you can see there, we're just moving it to the right. Same thing. We can just copy this. There's a couple of ways, I guess, that we could do this. We could do minus equals, I guess, or I think I'm going to leave it as plus equals and just make that a negative one. Okay. I'm going to copy this one again. I'm going to go down here inside the down arrow, and what I'm going to do is still going to be plus equals. I'm going to put that one to 0. Now we want it to go down, which is on our y-axis, so that's going to be my negative one. Okay, I'm going to save it, because I think if we put it on one of the pieces, I think we should be able to get it to work here as long as there's no issues with my code. So let's go back. Okay, we look okay, nothing down here. I'm going to just bring in one of the graphics, okay, or it's one of the prefabs. Now, so I'll just bring the J in. Okay, I'm just going to put that script on the J. Sorry, TetraminoController. Hopefully there's no errors. Now, my camera's not quite set up. We'll do that in a minute here. If I press play, okay, we're just looking in the game window. Now, or sorry, in the scene window, nothing's going to happen, okay? We don't have that automatic drop, and that's what I said we have to add on. But I should be able to move it down, which I am, and then moving it left and right. So we already have that basic movement. Obviously, it's not hitting the boundary, which is a little bit of an issue, but oh, there it is in the game window. But you can see we've got that kind of movement already. So it didn't take that much code to get it to work. Okay, let's just set up this camera so it's a little bit better. I think put these numbers in already, so I'm just going to go right here. I think I had it 4.5. There, that just centers it. 10, and really I think our height doesn't really matter. We'll just leave that -10. And the size here, I believe I put it to 10.5. And then that just fits it. And we'll worry about setting up the camera a bit better later. We don't need all this width, but that gives us the basic setup here. The next thing we'll do is just get our rotation going. So make sure that we can do this. And so right on here on the up arrow, like I said, we're going to use that as our rotation. So again, we can access the transform, but this time we'll do a rotation. And basically, we want it to rotate every key press 90 degrees. And you can imagine the z-axis is sort of going into it. So we are going to rotate around the z-axis 90 degrees. So, oops, sorry. It's an error there. So transform.rotate. Still sort of giving me, which I always get wrong because it is a capital R. So make sure it's a capital R there, and you should be okay. So let's just double check that. So transform.rotate. Let's see if it's a 90-degree rotation. So I'm just going to hit play. Again, it's not falling at all, but we are getting a rotation there. Okay, so as I press the up arrow, it's rotating around. Perfect. Okay, so there's a few more things in the code. Like I said, we want to get it moving down automatically. And to do so, we're going to have to create two variables at the top. And basically, this is going to control how fast it falls. And so I'm just going to make sure that we're below the mono behavior, but above the start function. So I'm just going to put a few enters in. Again, a little bit unlike in JavaScript, you don't have to put var at the start. So I'm just going to say float, and we're going to call this one fell. So it's basically how much it fell in a certain amount of time. And the other one, which we're going to access, and it's not going to be accessed, it's important to access it in the sort of in the game when we're trying to set it up, and also later on when we need the game manager, say, to speed it up. We're going to make this public, float, and we're going to call this fall speed. And because it's heading down, we'll set that to -1. Okay, so two variables, fell and fall speed here. Sorry, I misspoke there. That should be +1. All right, so what we're going to do is, like I said, we have to have this, going down, but we also have to have it going down automatically. So it's going to go down, it's going to drop, basically, if we press the arrow key down, or if, it's sort of forced to move down by the amount of time. And so what we're going to use is the OR conditional. And you have to hold shift here, and just above the enter key, you can get these two lines, vertical lines, and they indicate OR. So if you press the key down, or if basically the time passes. And so I'm going to explain this a little bit. I'm going to put the code in first. So if time.time, which is really just the measure of time since the game begins, minus fall, and I'm going to put that up there, sorry, fell, not fall, fell, is greater than or equal to fall speed. And I'm going to explain this once we get it in. So we've got these two conditions. So if this, okay, pressing the arrow, or this thing to do with time, okay, and then the thing is, what I'm going to do is take fell and make it time.time. So equal to time.time. And then I'm going to explain this here. All right, so you've got the code in, hopefully. So like I said, obviously you push the arrow key, it will go down, okay? But we also have, if you don't press the key in time, it will automatically fall. And so this time.time here is basically like time going by. So 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. So minus fell. Okay, so how much it sort of fell here. So you can imagine if it was, say, we set the fall speed to say basically 1. Okay, so if 1 second's gone by, then, you know, this number, if it's greater than 1, because this basically is going to be set to 0 at the start. So once 1 minus 0 is, so as long as this is greater than 1 now, so 1 minus 0 is now greater, so let's just say 2 seconds now. So 2 minus 0 is greater than or equal to fall speed, which is 1, then it's going to move it down regardless. Okay, now the key thing is that fell, okay, is reset to that time. So then the time becomes the same. So this becomes basically 0. Okay, so then it will be less. So it won't fall, but as the time increases, so let's just say now they were both at 2 here. Now this is increased, say, to 3.5, let's just say. So 3.5 minus 2 is 1.5, so 1.5 is greater than the fall speed, which is 1. Then it's going to move down again. Then it resets the time and goes over and over again. So basically, at this point, it's going to fall every second. Okay, so let's just see if this works. Save it. Go back to Unity. Okay, whoops, we got this unexpected symbol. Just let me see here. I might have to get rid of this one arrow. Sorry, let's get rid of this and put that there. Sorry, there. So that should be in the condition. Okay, fall speed. Oops. Let me just change this. That's better. Okay, save that up. Okay, we still got time. So hopefully that will disappear. There we go. Okay, now hit play. Now it should. There we go. It's falling every second. Now I can speed it up. Okay, but regardless, it will fall. Okay, perfect. So now, hey, isn't the game almost done? Well, still a bit more to do, but we're getting pretty close. We can now actually move our pieces around, and they also move by themselves. Perfect. All right. We'll see you in the next video.